Hey everybody, my name is Pakela Kaka. I've been closely involved with this whole issue of same-sex marriage here in Hawaii, and I really felt the need to make this video about the things that I've observed and what I understand about the entire situation we're in here. First, I'd like to state that I am against same-sex marriage. I have my reasons. A lot of it can be found if you listen to testimonies or have done your own research. I have nothing against my gay brothers and sisters. I love other people. If there's any one defining characteristic, you can ask anyone who knows me, it's that I love people. So please don't judge me as being hateful or misunderstanding. I've been working on understanding this issue that Hawaii is facing since the last few weeks of September. Many people may know that my friends Charlie and Honora and I had created a Facebook group called Marriage Equality Act of 2013 Understood. Since the start of the group, I had operated as a spearhead of our movement, and to my luck, I somehow also became the face of our group as we got more involved and organized with larger efforts. From day one of getting involved, I witnessed firsthand the kind of hatred and misunderstanding that such a controversial issue created among those people who are trying to get involved. My first experience with this disturbing animosity was from the very first post on our Facebook group. Charlie had created the group in response to a church leader who came to Hawaii and addressed the young adults that we need to grow up and become contributing members of society. And at the time of the group's creation, none of us had actually read the bill, and a lot of people probably can still fit in this group that they haven't read the bill or they don't understand it completely. So what was actually posted in the beginning was only things that we had heard from other people, from just things that people were afraid of but didn't really understand. And things like our clergy, they would have to perform marriages even if it's against their belief, or that churches would have to open their buildings for same-sex marriages even if they found that marriage immoral and they didn't agree with it, and we didn't agree that they should be forced to do those things. So when we started out, we were really afraid for church members and their buildings. Within the first 12 hours, we received feedback from a certain individual who supported same-sex marriage. But the disturbing thing was not the fact that we were receiving opposition, but rather the manner in which we were receiving it. This man was openly berating my friend Charlie. He called her ignorant. He tried to explain that the things we were addressing was all wrong. He argued about churches and their beliefs, and he said a lot of really hurtful things. Within that first day, after our group had handled that one situation, I really wanted for that kind of misunderstanding to be absent from our group and from our work. I wanted people to be able to discuss things with open mind and, complete respect for each other. In the next few days of my research, I found that literally anybody and everyone who stood out against gay advocacy was rigidly and with lasting effect labeled as an ignorant bigot or a hateful person. Something that truly made me sad about getting involved. Not that I was worried about my own reputation or how people would look at me, but saddened because of how much hate was being created in the eyes of anyone getting involved on either side. From seeing this, I made it my first goal to remove that stereotype that anyone against the bill was a religious bigot or an ignorant homophobe. Since the contention that was created in our group was because of misunderstanding and misinformation, from not actually knowing what the bill said, my friends and I had begun to really research the bill and the effects it would have on churches. We started to ask experts who had experience in law. We started to look at other states and the effects that same-sex marriage had on them. And after researching to a degree, I had created several analyses of the draft bill and of the situation of the special session. And I posted them onto our Facebook page, and for a time these analyses were the main source of facts that we had to offer to anyone who wanted to know more. As our group did more research and became more involved, we came to know of other groups and organizations who had been working on going against the bill. We got to meet a handful of legislators. We started to attend meetings that involved Hawaii family advocates. We gathered connections to the head of numerous churches, and things really started to take off for our group. We started bringing more people together. We started to get involved in ways we never thought we would, like creating signs, making flyers, and creating an FAQ, all the while maintaining our Facebook group and upholding the standards of respect in the group. And as this happened for our group, I started to vocalize my personal stance on the issue on my Facebook, in my personal conversations, and pretty much every area of my regular life. As I did this, I felt firsthand the negative impacts of voicing my beliefs against the issue. Some of my friends started to criticize me and disowned our friendships. Some of my coworkers who knew my stance on the issue, who didn't agree with it, there's that separation and kind of that distance that was created. And I even started to get into it with my own family, because there was just a lot of misunderstanding about how I felt, what we were doing, what's going on. And it was discouraging. I knew it was getting bad, because anybody who knows me personally will tell you that I'm pretty patient and I don't get upset very easily. But with this issue, my patience was just really getting thin, and it became clear to me that for me, the other people would be responding accordingly to the frustration created by the bill in the special session. In my response to my experience with the issues being pushed to the limit, I started to do more research about what it was the LGBT community was trying to gain and why they were trying to push this bill so hard. What I found was that they are at a serious disadvantage of marital benefits, federal benefits, medical, and all kinds of different things that they're being restricted of because they don't have marriage. And as I did more research about how the other states handled this, I found how the LGBT went about in their efforts to gain those rights. I found out the effects of how those effects had negative impacts on religious communities. As our group continued to search for truths in this time of misunderstanding and confusion, we were able to attend some informational meetings that helped us to understand some of the truths about what our opposition was fighting for. And it helped me to feel even more that this bill was wrong, and it was the wrong way for them to go about getting those rights. As time went on, our efforts continued to gather more information and more support for our group, and within a short time we gained a lot of both. We ran around to multiple churches and their organizations to share with them as much as we could. We continued working, time went on, as it usually does, and more we learned, we taught, we shared, and I realized that I was getting far too caught up with this entire issue. So I took some time to reflect about what it was exactly I was trying to do. And I was able to see a bigger picture. I started to notice that the biggest issue this bill and this special session was creating was the exact same issue that I had first addressed when that angry individual spoke out against our group. There was so much anger and hatred that everyone was getting caught up in, and it was all directed towards each other. Even in our Facebook group, things had started to get pretty difficult. In the 3 to 4 weeks we had several disputes with individuals who were causing arguments and contentions in the group, and I had done my part as the administrator of the group to keep things civil and to have all people remain respectful of each other. But with the number of people we had gained, the task had just proven too much for me to handle alone. Soon I found myself on the opposite end of several members of the group that I had worked so diligently to create. I had the group set as a public page. I had strict standards of respect to everyone and anyone who wanted to speak on the page, and that's how I wanted the group to be operated. Other members of the group, they had different ideas and different goals of how the group should be run and what we should be doing. And it was at that time that I decided it was best for me to opt out of the group. And I had to really think about what it was I was trying to do with the group and what I had already done. My original goal was to get people informed and get people involved, and I had done that. And by the end of that night, I had left the group, and it really killed me to give up my admin powers and to let go of the group. But I humbled myself and I recognized that it wasn't fair for me to hold the members of the group back with my own personal standards of how I wanted it to be run. So I wanted to give them that freedom to act as they thought would be best for the group, and I wanted to get closure for everything that I had done. And by leaving the group, I was able to get that closure. I was able to feel much better about everything we had done. Whether we won or lost, I feel that I gained my closure and I did what I could. The following day was the beginning of the special session. It was also the day of the big Let the People Decide rally. I gotta say, it was one of the coolest experiences I have ever known. Unfortunately, it was also the craziest period of time for working against the bill because of the confusion and chaos. I was re-added into the group the very next day and reinstated as an admin to help regulate the information that was shared and to help with clarifying several misunderstandings. If you were there that day, it was pretty chaotic. And being there at the Capitol and seeing as more and more people showed up to stand for our religious freedoms and just uniting in love and the intention to stand up for God, I'll tell you, it was that feeling of seeing all the work we had been doing for the past month come together was just the coolest thing ever. It really felt amazing to have everyone come together like that and know that we had some kind of small part in doing it. Granted, the rally was also the craziest thing. The decision of the Senate was still very disappointing for us. The next few days after the rally and as the hearing continued for the House, I witnessed things that disturbed me much more than anything that I had previously experienced since getting involved. I started to experience firsthand the division that this issue was creating in our community. The day of the rally, I had noticed that they had TV monitors around the rotunda area and how the people were divided at which TV they were watching. Those opposed the bill were gathered around one of them, and those who were against the bill were gathered around the other. And not liking the way things were situated, I went over to the supporters' TV, over to their side, and I decided to watch from there. And right away, I got a couple of people just giving me stink eye, like, I wasn't welcome there. And, there were people who saw me and they just acknowledged me, oh yeah, it's cool, whatever, but it's the feeling from those people that pierce you. That's what sticks with you. Even on our Facebook group, there was a lot of disrespectful discussion about beliefs. Churchgoers would blatantly shut down non-believers and tell them how God will defeat them, that we cannot lose. And even if you're correct with those statements, right or wrong, I can't stand for people to go around disrespecting each other that way just because they don't agree with you. And there's just this really issue of not respecting or caring about each other that I did not like. And I'll tell you guys about another experience I had. It was the Friday just before the special session, and I had gotten out of our final meeting that would go on before the rally, and it was midday and I was leaving for work after our meeting. I came out to Baratania to see dozens of the supporters of the bill, out there waving signs and playing music, and the feeling that came over me as I saw all of them out there. Even though I am against them, I'm opposed with this bill, I was proud of them. I was inspired by how much they had done and how well they were working together. Up to that point, most of the work I had been doing was in helping to inform and to help organize. So I hadn't actually seen any of the people on our side of this issue united and waving signs or doing things like that. So it actually made me really happy to see the opposition doing that, and it inspired me. Through them, I was able to see things that I was trying to accomplish, and I'm grateful that they were out there doing that day. Even though we are opposed to each other, doesn't mean we can't or we shouldn't have that respect. The saddest thing I went through was on the third day of testimonies in the House of Representatives. I stood near the sidewalk when people were waving signs, and a dispute of words and ideals broke out between two of our sign wavers and one of the supporters' flag wavers. And they started spitting out scriptures at him, and he started rebuttaling them with scriptures of his own, and it really turned into an all-out war of beliefs and interpretations. I stopped at both of the women, and I just whispered into their ears, let's not create contention. We shouldn't be doing this. You're not going to get anywhere by just arguing this way, and if anything, it's going to do a lot more damage than good. And once they stopped, I attempted to speak with the older gentleman to get him to calm down a little. And he ranted to me about how Christian condemned gays in the old days, and how they did so in the not too distant past, and how the Christians did a lot of things wrong against the gay communities. And I tried to explain to him, for a lot of these instances, they were all because of misunderstandings. Before I could finish, he would cut me off and say, there's no misunderstandings. The Christians did all of these things intentionally to punish the gays for being the way they are. And what he never let me finish was, the misunderstanding was on the Christians' part. The misunderstanding was that the Christians did not understand the teachings of Christ, and what they did was wrong. He never let me finish that, and I was never able to tell him that. And it's a message I think that a lot of people need to hear. Luckily, one of the supporters of the bill, on their side, she helped to call him off, and she politely asked me to go back to where we were, and let the sign waving go on in peace, to leave things alone. And and I obliged. We shook hands, and I said, right, okay, it's best if you can handle this, and I'll try to take care of the people on our side. But I felt just really helpless against the hatred and the disgust that people were showing each other. And I didn't think that this was something that is right for us. What happened next is what really surprised me. I went back over to our side, and I stood in between the man and the two women to make sure things stayed civil. He continued to yell some unsavory things out at us from along the sidewalk, but I stood firm and just listening to his taunts, and I made sure that the two women were finished and that they were in their own conversation before moving on. And after one of the women was finished, she left and she walked away. I tried to talk and counsel with the other woman about why we shouldn't be trying to cause any trouble like what had just previously happened minutes before. I spoke to her with love, and I spoke to her with conviction, that we should be promoting peace. But she just refuted me. She was saying, that God's power would plant a seed in her heart, in that man's heart, and that doing so was her job, to loudly and proudly call them out on their sins and tell them the way it should be. And that is honestly probably exactly what she believed. And I responded to her trying to tell her, the Lord also blesses us with the ability to recognize when it's appropriate to speak those things, when people are ready to hear that, or when they are willing to hear it. And, because their hearts aren't always open for that seed, and to say it in the manner that they were doing it was the incorrect way. And you can't just yell at people and force your beliefs onto them. From then on, she continued to refute me and any of my attempts to teach out of love. She wasn't even having it, and I'm on your side in this issue. I walked away not too much later feeling really disheartened at the way the conversation went. It was after this instance that I started to realize just how bad the situation was getting for our society. It was more evident for me in the groups of religious individuals because I had been working much more with them than I had been working with the gay community. So a lot of the stuff that I saw was the mistakes that the religious communities were making. Everyone who has been involved with this is becoming really caught up with the need to prove themselves correct by proving their opposition wrong. That's not the right way for these kind of issues to be addressed or solved. As I had reflected on everything that I had experienced for the past month and a half, I saw that the way that people had been trying to accomplish their goal was by discounting each other of their work and their goals. It was really one of the most inhumane actions that I have ever observed, where they're not showing any care or respect for each other's beliefs, and they don't want to. In fact, they want to just prove to each other that what you think and what you believe is wrong. That in itself is wrong. If anyone had gotten the chance to hear my testimony to the House on Friday, I spoke about the wedge that this issue is creating in our society. I referenced the law of aloha. The law is stated in Hawaii Revised Statutes 5-7.5. It defines the spirit of aloha. It reads, "Aloha spirit is the coordination of mind and heart within each person. It brings each person to the self. Each person must think and emote good feelings to others. In the contemplation and presence of the life force, aloha, the following unuhi laulālua may be used. A. Akahai, meaning kindness, to be expressed with pleasantness, with tenderness. L. Lokahi, meaning unity, to be expressed with harmony. O. Olu olu, meaning agreeable, to be expressed with pleasantness. H. Ha'aha'a, meaning humility, to be expressed with modesty. A. Ahonui, meaning patience, to be expressed with perseverance." It continues to read, "These are traits of character that express the charm, warmth, and sincerity of Hawaii's people. It was the working philosophy of the native Hawaiians and was presented as a gift to the people of Hawaii. Aloha is more than a word of greeting or farewell or a salutation. Aloha means mutual regard and affection and extends warmth in caring with no obligation in return. Aloha is the essence of relationships in which each person is important to every other person for collective existence." Now, if you've been listening to what I've been saying before, and just listen to those last two sentences, aloha means mutual regard and affection and extends warmth in caring with no obligation in return. Aloha is the essence of relationships in which each person is important to every other person for collective existence. What we've been doing, what everyone has been doing, is not aloha. Can anyone honestly say that there has been aloha as this issue has been addressed from either side? Majority of the people speaking their stance on this issue have been berating and discounting those that stand against them. That is the exact opposite of aloha. I received a message from a woman one day on Facebook. I don't know how she found me. I don't know why she felt the need to speak with me personally. But in her message, she explained an experience she had with her young 6-year-old daughter as they drove past a group of our sign wavers. Her daughter had asked her what and why they were out there doing that, waving their signs. Her mother explained to her what she understood about the situation as they went to pick up her other daughter. As they drove past again on the way home, her 6-year-old daughter waved a paper out the window. The woman later read the paper and was moved by the message of her 6-year-old daughter. It said that mommies can love mommies and daddies can love daddies. She then spoke to me saying that, her 6-year-old daughter is more open-minded than our sign wavers. And in the message, I had rebutted her and I spoke to her with my analyses and my understanding about the situation. But after listening to the testimonies and seeing the way that everyone has been operating with this entire hearing, I don't feel that I can properly contest her reasoning. Many of the people who have been arguing against the bill have actually been very close-minded to the idea of equality for same-sex couples. Many have stated things out of emotion and out of conviction, but they have done so without the proper respect that the opposition deserves. Even if you are right about a higher being, or how people should abide by certain teachings or doctrines, the way that I have seen how many people have expressed these ideals, it disappoints me. What they have shown me, and a good amount of people who have just been watching, is that they really are trying to prevent inequality. And they are also they're promoting a superiority complex over the meaning of marriage. A lot of them have been arguing the issue or arguing the problem and stating their problems, but they haven't been trying to come up with any kind of solution to those problems. And to me, and several friends that I've talked to who have just been watching, they say that, it doesn't seem like they're actually trying to promote equality. It seems like they are against that equality. The biggest issue that I've noticed from both sides is that no one actually wants to help each other. Truly, I believe that if everyone at least made some kind of attempt to appease the needs of others, this could be handled much better and cleaner for everyone. If all the people could just soften their hearts, just a little bit, or just humble yourselves just a little bit. Just enough to actually listen to what the other side is saying. If we could actually try something crazy like that, or something as crazy as working together to help each other, I don't think anyone could even imagine what that would be like. I've heard time and time again the religious groups saying, this isn't about equality, it's not about rights. It is, but it's about a lot more than that as well. And conversely, I've heard the LGBT community saying, this has nothing to do with religious beliefs or nothing else that has been brought up in the testimonies. It is about those things. That's why everyone has been arguing it, but it's about a lot more. And how much more could we accomplish if our efforts were to be building rather than tearing down? It's one thing to think that you're on the right path, but it's another thing to think that yours is the only path. And we need to be helping each other to be on the same path towards the same goal. To the LGBTQIA community, are you guys really okay with taking away the religious rights while you gain your own? I know a lot of you don't believe that this bill does so, but like I said, if you just humble yourself just a little, just enough to hear us out, and try to help us protect the things that we believe. We really want those protections, and there are many other things that this bill leaves unaddressed. A lot of it has been spoken of in testimonies. Now, I'm not going to get into that, but really think about how much more could be done if we were trying to address all of these things, rather than fight against each other. To the religious communities, I'll speak to you guys a little bit more, because I would hope that you guys actually listen to me more than the opposition would. I don't expect them to listen to me much at all. But what are you guys going to do now? If same-sex marriage is the only alternative, I expect all of you to be willing and ready to help the gay community to gain the rights and benefits of marriage through the civil unions. I expect all of you to be much more active in local government after this. And I expect you all to be fair and just in whatever actions you choose to take. I think personally, I hold the religious communities much more accountable to showing the love and respect that people deserve, because you are followers of a higher being. You think back to what happened in the past about the hate crimes done by Christians in ancient and religious history towards the gay society, the gay communities. It's no wonder why they're so resentful to religion today. And if you paid attention to the testimonies, a lot of you did not help our cause. But those mistakes from the past and the mistakes from the recent, just this past couple weeks, they need to be fixed today and in the future to come, to just start doing the right things. To everybody, remember what true aloha is. In the midst of all this chaos, we need to hold strong to the choice of happiness and love. It's a choice to love others. It's a choice to be happy with life, regardless of your circumstances. So please remember to love each other, remember to help each other, and more than anything, remember to forgive each other. I hope that people will be able to forgive each other for anything done or said between the opposing sides that has hurt them during the time of this special session or the time leading up to it. I pray that people will be able to forgive each other for anything that has been done in the past, anything that might have been done to really hurt someone and have them grow bitter towards the love of aloha. And I can only hope that everyone will be able to forgive our legislators for their stances on this issue. They have been working hard on this entire ordeal, and you are gravely mistaken if you think it hasn't taken a toll on them. They most definitely have it the hardest out of anyone. All eyes have been on them. Now, I said you can forgive them. That doesn't mean you shouldn't vote them out. By all means, cast my vote too. But you need to forgive them for what they do. Whatever the outcome, I hope everyone can live peacefully and lovingly here in Hawaii. It's not just about doing the right thing, it's about being the right person. And when this is all done, I hope you all will commit and continue to stay involved with legal issues in Hawaii. You will all be needed to continue this fight and the many more that are sure to follow. Damage control, if this bill should pass, is very critical for everyone. In regards to education, religious protections, federal benefits, parental rights, and so on, somebody, the people, need to address these things. This all happened because the people let go of the government and they didn't want to get involved. We got lazy. We now see how dangerous that is, and we can't let that happen again. To everyone here who would hear this message, my message was created by doing much more listening than talking. But now I'm talking. So please, please listen. To Bert Kobayashi, you're my representative. You came to my house to speak with me personally on this issue. At the end of our conversation, you suggested that I speak the language of the legislators. You suggested that I write my own bill and try to get that to be looked at as a possible solution. I don't know how to do that. Instead, I started a Facebook group. I helped to get 2,000 people in our group to become informed and involved against this bill and against this special session in numerous ways. I helped to educate hundreds more about some of the truths that have been hidden on this issue. I helped to create 200 plus of those Let the People Decide posters that people have been using to sign with. The evidence will show that I'm capable of uniting people in doing something that is right. More than that, I'm capable of doing it while upholding standards of respect and love, something that I think is very absent in politics today. If you vote yes for this bill, which it seems like you will, come 2018, if someone else has not taken your seat, I may be coming for it myself. Either mine or someone else that I feel like I can back, because I feel they will better represent a majority of the people. The majority of the people who have been outside of that Capitol, waving signs and chanting to let the people decide. You know, I'm not saying this as a threat, and I doubt you would see it as a threat, but I'm saying this as a call to awareness of what I'm willing to do to fix a government that I'm dissatisfied with. And to the other legislators, take note, because I'm not the only young adult who is unhappy with who and how we are being represented. This isn't about left wing or right wing. This is about aloha and about the mana that it holds. It's something from the heart. If you already have your heart set and your vote is already decided to pass this bill, however you can, I want you to ask yourself. I've already spoken about the division and the hatred created. That is what we are facing. If you want to pass this bill, you need to ask yourself, when did you forsake these islands? When did you forsake this people? And when did you forsake aloha? I heard several of you say at the end of the committee hearing, to my interpretation, that it would be better to fix rather than to prevent. What I get from that is that you guys would rather shoot first and ask questions later, and you want to do that against the people of Hawaii. You guys are going to find that that gun is aimed at your foot, and you guys are trying to shoot yourselves, and it's going to bite you. There's going to be a lot of representatives being voted out this coming election. Again, I'm not saying this as a threat, I'm saying it as a warning and a call to awareness, because a lot of people are dissatisfied with this government. You guys vote today, we're going to vote tomorrow. To everyone who has been involved in this, either side, please understand, this isn't the kind of battle that you're going to win with numbers. This isn't the kind of battle that you're going to win with words. This isn't the kind of battle that you're going to win with facts, with passions, or with strategic operations. This is the kind of battle where you don't win. This is the kind of battle where nobody really wins. In this kind of battle, if anyone feels like they lose, we all lose. If the animosity and hatred of this issue continues, we all lose. Everyone fighting for your churches, you lose if everyone hates you. Everyone fighting for the gays, you lose if people hate you. I know you guys feel really entitled and empowered, you don't care what other people think. But if everyone hates you, you still lose out on that aloha spirit, that complete unite spirit of Hawaii being loving. You guys will lose out on that. Everyone fighting for your children and your children's children, they lose if we can't do this right. Hawaii loses if we cannot do this right. This is my home, and I will fight to protect aloha. The sad part is that before all of this happened this year, Hawaii was fine with its heterosexuals and homosexuals. At least from what I could see, there were no major disputes. And to the people working behind the scenes, Hawaii is not just another check off your list. You're gonna find that the people here are very resilient, especially when it comes to foreigners coming to tell us how to do things. For the record, I'm 19 years old. I've already got a lot of hate because I stand up for aloha. But that doesn't change my thoughts about who I am or what I represent. Who you are is a choice. Who you are and who you want to be is determined by you and you alone. If you want to be a symbol of love and understanding, then do it. Don't waste time thinking about how or why or anything like that. You know, we're human beings, not human thinkings. So you need to go out and be. Your actions are going to speak a lot louder than their words. Make the choice today that you will be the best person that Hawaii deserves from you. I'm going to be leaving Hawaii for a time. So I'm leaving this in all of your capable hands. Until I return to my beloved state and homeland, aloha and ahui ho.